Have you ever considered that your daily morning routines might be silently jeopardizing your health, especially as you grow older? Today, we explore the poignant story of Mr. Chang, a 70-year-old gentleman who seemed to lead a healthy and active life, but tragically collapsed one peaceful morning in his beloved garden. This serves as a stark reminder that even the most mindful habits can harbor hidden dangers. In this video, we'll uncover 3 essential morning habits that older individuals should avoid to protect their health and well-being. These simple yet powerful changes could significantly reduce serious health risks and help you or your loved ones live a longer, healthier life. Stay with us until the end, as these insights might just make a world of difference for someone you care about. And if you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. And your support means a lot to me. And if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. Let's take a moment to truly reflect on something deeply important today. Hello and a warm welcome to each of you who has joined us. Today we're delving into a story that, while undeniably heartbreaking, carries with it profound lessons for all of us, lessons about life, health, and the fragile balance we often take for granted. And I want to share with you the story of Mr. Chang, a man who lived a life of simplicity, dedication, and routine, just like many of our elderly loved ones. Mr. Chang was 70 years old, a proud resident of a quiet, peaceful rural area, far from the hustle and bustle of city life. His days were filled with calm, purposeful moments, each one rooted in maintaining his health, his happiness, and the life he had built over decades. Every single morning, without fail, Mr. Chang would rise early, greet the dawn, and start his day with a light exercise routine. It was a habit he had cultivated over the years, and it gave him energy, focus, and a sense of control over his aging body. Afterward, he would head outside to tend to his small vegetable garden, a humble patch of earth that had grown into his pride and joy. You can imagine the satisfaction it gave him, watching his hard work bloom into life. His garden was not just a source of fresh produce, but also a symbol of his vitality, his connection to nature, and the fulfillment that came from nurturing something with his own 2 hands. His family, too, took great pride in his lifestyle, admiring how committed he was to staying healthy and active. In their eyes, he was doing everything right, taking all the necessary steps to ensure a long, healthy life. But life, as we all know, is full of unforeseen twists. One serene morning, as Mr. Chang worked in his beloved garden, something tragic happened. Without warning, he collapsed. The quiet peace of the morning was shattered by a single, devastating moment. A stroke had claimed him. Despite all his efforts, all his routines, and his commitment to a healthy lifestyle, he had fallen victim to something many of us don't see coming until it's too late. His family, who had always believed he was on the path to longevity, was left in shock and hardhead. They couldn't understand how someone who had been so diligent, so mindful of his health, could be taken away so suddenly and tragically. This is the harsh reality we all must face. Even when we believe we're doing everything right, there can still be hidden dangers lurking in our daily routines. For the elderly, in particular, certain morning habits that seem harmless, even beneficial, can carry risks that we often overlook. This isn't meant to scare you, but rather to open our eyes to the importance of understanding how our bodies change as we age and how small adjustments can make all the difference in preventing tragedies like Mr. Chang says. Today, I want to share with you 3 vital changes that elderly individuals should consider in their morning routines. These aren't just minor tweaks, they are life-saving habits that could help you or your loved ones avoid dangerous health incidents. I know it may sound simple, but sometimes it's the simplest changes that have the most profound impact. These small adjustments can protect your health, preserve your well-being, and allow you to continue enjoying life with the people you love. And if you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you're still here with me. The first critical piece of advice I want to share is this: never exert yourself when you're hungry. This might seem like something minor, but trust me, it's something that can have major consequences for older adults. Picture this: you've just woken up from a night's rest, and your body is transitioning from a state of sleep to wakefulness. Your energy reserves are low, Your metabolism hasn't quite kicked into gear yet, and your cardiovascular system is still in a relaxed state. Now imagine diving straight into physical activity, whether it's a brisk morning walk, gardening, or even something as simple as lifting a heavy object. If for a younger person, this might not seem like a big deal, but for an elderly individual whose body is more fragile and whose heart and blood vessels are already under strain from the natural aging process, this can be extremely dangerous. When you exert yourself on an empty stomach, your body doesn't have the necessary fuel to support such activity. This lack of energy can cause a sudden spike in your heart rate and blood pressure. And for someone whose cardiovascular system isn't as strong as it used to be, this can be incredibly risky. The body simply doesn't have the reserves it needs to handle such stress. Even more alarming is the fact that in the morning, our bodies naturally release a surge of adrenaline, a hormone that helps our nervous and cardiovascular systems wake up. While this is a normal part of the waking process, it also means that blood pressure tends to be higher during these early hours. If you combine this natural rise in blood pressure with strenuous activity on an empty stomach, it creates the perfect storm for health issues such as heart attacks or strokes. This is how some strokes are triggered, as the added strain causes plaques within the blood vessels to rupture, blocking blood flow to the brain. So, what should you do instead? Take a more mindful approach to your mornings. Before you dive into your daily routine, take a few moments to have a light, nutritious breakfast. Something as simple as a piece of fruit, a bowl of oatmeal, or a handful of nuts can give your body the fuel it needs to start the day safely. And when it comes to exercise, opt for gentler, low-impact activities like walking or practicing Tai Chi. These kinds of exercises are excellent for maintaining mobility and health without putting undue stress on your heart. Not only will this approach protect your cardiovascular system, but it will also set a positive, balanced tone for the rest of your day. Now let's move on to the second important habit to avoid, standing up too quickly after waking up. I know this might seem like such a small detail, a fleeting moment in the grand scheme of things, but for older adults, it's a moment that can carry serious risks. You see, when we sleep, our bodies enter a state of deep rest. Our heart rates slow down, our blood pressure drops, and our bodily functions operate at a lower level. This is perfectly normal and, in fact, necessary for a good night's sleep. However, when we wake up, our bodies need time to readjust and gradually transition from that restful state back to full activity. For younger people, this process happens relatively quickly. But for older individuals, whose bodies don't bounce back as easily as they once did, this transition can take a bit longer. If you jump out of bed too quickly, your body might not have enough time to adapt. And this can lead to several issues: dizziness, a loss of balance, or even fainting. And this sudden movement causes what's called postural hypotension, which is a rapid drop in blood pressure that occurs when you change positions too quickly. For elderly individuals who are more vulnerable to falls and injuries, this can be incredibly dangerous. Imagine getting up too fast, feeling dizzy, losing your balance, and falling. The consequences could be catastrophic fractures, broken bones, or worse. So how can we prevent this? The answer is simple: be patient with your body. When you wake up, take a few moments to ease into the day. Instead of jumping out of bed, sit up slowly. Let your body adjust to being awake. Stretch gently, move your limbs, and give your cardiovascular system the time it needs to regulate your salt pressure. These small, deliberate movements will not only help you feel more balanced, but also reduce the risk of falls or fainting spells. And for those who are caring for elderly loved ones, remind them of the importance of taking it slow. This small change can make all the difference in preventing accidents. As we reflect on these simple, yet crucial tips, I want to remind all of us that taking care of our health isn't just about the big things, like eating right or exercising. It's about paying attention to the small, everyday habits that we often overlook, those tiny moments that could either protect our well-being or put it at a risk. Mr. Chang's story is a reminder that life is fragile, and that even when we think we're doing everything right, we must always remain vigilant, mindful, and open to making small changes that can lead to a longer, healthier, and more fulfilling life. By making these adjustments, we're not only safeguarding our health, but also ensuring that we can continue to share our lives with the people who matter most. So let's take these lessons to heart. Let's share them with our parents, grandparents, and friends. Together, we can help prevent the kind of tragedies that leave families heartbroken and ensure that those we love can continue to live their lives with joy, health, and happiness. The key here is to move gradually and gently ease into your day, especially as we age. Our bodies need time to wake up and adjust to the shift from rest to activity. When you first wake up, take a minute or two to just lie still, allowing your body to recalibrate. Don't rush, as tempting as it may be to jump into your day's tasks. Let yourself breathe and slowly acclimate to being awake. After this, gently stretch your limbs, giving your circulation a chance to start flowing and your muscles time to warm up. Move your arms and legs slowly and mindfully. This process of gradual movement helps get your blood circulating, preventing sudden drops in blood pressure that could lead to dizziness or lightheadedness. Once you feel stable, sit up slowly, but don't stand just yet. Take a moment to stay seated at the edge of your bed, allowing your body to fully adjust before standing. This might feel like a small and almost unnecessary step, but it's critical, especially for older adults, to prevent falls or other injuries that can occur from standing up too quickly. This gentle process gives your heart time to adjust to gravity, minimizing the risk of fainting or losing balance. As simple as these actions may seem, they are incredibly effective in keeping you safe and stable in those vulnerable early moments after waking. The third point is often overlooked, but is equally as important. Avoid straining too much when using the bathroom, especially first thing in the morning. I know this might seem like a small, trivial matter, but it carries significant health risks, particularly for older adults. After a night of digestion, many people feel the need to use the bathroom as soon as they wake up. It's a natural urge, but it's crucial to approach it part of your morning routine with care. Strain during bowel movements, particularly in the morning when your body is still adjusting, can have dangerous consequences for your cardiovascular system. When you strain, the pressure in your chest increases, which can reduce the amount of blood flowing back to your heart. As a result, less blood is pumped to your brain, causing dizziness, sudden spikes in blood pressure, or even fainting. For older adults who may already have weaker cardiovascular systems, this can lead to even more serious risks, such as heart attacks or strokes. Additionally, the increase in internal pressure can affect blood vessels, particularly in the brain and abdominal area, heightening the risk of ruptures. These ruptures can lead to serious medical conditions, like hemorrhagic strokes or gastrointestinal issues, which can be life-threatening if not addressed immediately. So, how do you avoid this? Relaxation is key. When using the bathroom, don't force your body. Try to maintain a natural posture and let things happen without strain. If you find that you're struggling, it may be a sign that you need to make changes to your diet. Incorporating more fiber such as fruits, vegetables, and whole grains can make a world of difference in your digestive health. But drinking plenty of water throughout the day is also critical for keeping things moving smoothly and avoiding unnecessary strain. Another important tip: avoid spending too much time in the bathroom, especially if you're using your phone or reading while there. Extended periods of sitting can create extra strain on the blood vessels in your lower body, which isn't good for your health in the long run. These 3 simple, yet powerful adjustments to your morning routine can make a tremendous difference in your overall health and well-being. Even seemingly small habits, like how you get out of bed or how you use the bathroom, play a significant role in protecting your body from harm. It's important to be mindful of these details as you age and to listen to your body's signals. Take your time in the morning, move deliberately and with care, and always prioritize your health by making these small but impactful changes. Now remember, protecting your health is not just about the big, noticeable things, it's also about being aware of the little actions we take every day. But let's not stop there. As we grow older, our legacy extends beyond just taking care of our physical health. But it's about leaving behind something meaningful for our families and future generations. In addition to health, we need to focus on the values we pass down to those who come after us. So this brings me to another important topic: the 4 values that older individuals should leave behind for their descendants to ensure a flourishing and fulfilling future. These are not material possessions, but the core principles that guide life and shape character. As we age, our greatest wealth lies in the wisdom we impart to our loved ones. The first value is perhaps the most crucial: a legacy of high moral standards. Morality forms the foundation of life in many cultures, particularly in Vietnamese tradition, where ethics are seen as the cornerstone for family development and long-term well-being. When we talk about morality, it's more than just a set of rules, it's a way of life, a guide that informs every action and decision. Cultivating virtue for your descendants is not something that can be done overnight. It's a lifelong journey that starts with you, leading by example, and living a life of truthfulness, kindness, and integrity is the greatest gift you can give to the generations that follow. It's not about grand, sweeping gestures, but about how you carry yourself in the day-to-day. Imagine the impact of your actions, the way you treat others, the respect you show, and the ethical decisions you make. How these actions resonate deeply within your family. Younger members, whether they realize it or not, are constantly learning from the example set by their elders. They observe your behavior, your values, and your interactions, and these observations shape their sense of morality and ethics. If you live a life filled with integrity, your descendants will naturally be influenced by that example, and it will guide their actions long after you're gone. On the other hand, unethical behavior can cast a shadow not only on you, but on your entire family. Society often judges families based on the conduct of their elders, and moral failings can have long-lasting repercussions for descendants, affecting their opportunities, their relationships, and their reputations. But when you live a life of high moral standards, the positive reputation you leave behind benefits your family in countless ways. Your descendants inherit the respect and admiration you've earned through your integrity. This kind of legacy opens doors for them to opportunities, success, and fulfillment that they might not have had otherwise. When a family is known for its honesty, kindness, and ethical behavior, the community takes notice. The values you instill in your children and grandchildren guide their actions, creating a cycle of virtue and prosperity that can last for generations. It's a legacy far more valuable than any material wealth, because it shapes the very foundation of who they become and how they navigate the world. In closing, these values, along with the health habits we discussed earlier, form the pillars of a life well lived. It's not just about living longer, but about living better, nurturing our bodies, minds, and spirits so that we can pass on the very best to those we love. Let's take these lessons to heart, not just for ourselves, but for the future generations who will one day look back and learn from our example. By embracing these simple changes and leaving behind a legacy of virtue, we ensure that the future is bright, not only for us, but for everyone we hold dear. So the second value that is crucial to leave behind for future generations is teaching them the importance of earning money through honest and ethical means. It's natural to want to pass down property, wealth, and assets to ensure financial security for our descendants. Simply handing over money without equipping them with the knowledge and skills to manage it can do more harm than good. Think about it, wealth without wisdom can easily create a false sense of entitlement. Without understanding how to responsibly handle money, that inherited wealth can slip away in the blink of an eye. The real legacy, the lasting gift, lies in teaching your children and grandchildren the value of hard work, perseverance, and ethical ways of earning a living. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. And instilling these principles begins with teaching them about work ethic. Help them understand that true security doesn't come from a fat bank account or an inherited estate, but from the ability to navigate life's financial ups and downs with integrity and resilience. It's essential to teach them that earning money honestly, through skills, knowledge, and hard work, brings not just financial stability, but pride and self-respect. Encourage your descendants to engage in part-time jobs, take on small business ventures, or explore entrepreneurship. These experiences will teach them about responsibility, the value of a dollar, and how to turn challenges into opportunities. Moreover, understanding financial management is key. Equip your loved ones with knowledge about budgeting, saving, and investing wisely. And these skills will not only help them build and maintain wealth, but also protect it from unnecessary risks. In a rapidly changing economy, adaptability and resourcefulness are essential traits that will serve them well throughout their lives. Teaching them how to navigate these changes with confidence will ensure that they don't just survive financially, they thrive. So this education is a gift that will benefit your descendants for generations to come, far beyond the temporary relief of a financial inheritance. The third invaluable legacy to leave behind is something we often take for granted until it's too late: good health. Health is, without a doubt, the greatest wealth any of us can possess. It's a gift not only to ourselves, but to everyone around us. Think about it when an older family member falls ill. It doesn't just affect them, it affects the entire family. Family members often have to step in, setting aside their own lives and personal commitments to provide care. This can lead to emotional strain, stress, and even financial challenges for those who must shoulder the burden. That's why taking care of your health, even in your later years, is not just an act of self-preservation, it's an act of love and responsibility for your family. When older adults stay healthy, they serve as pillars of joy, stability, and inspiration for their families. They can participate fully in family life, offer guidance to younger generations, and contribute to the emotional and mental well-being of everyone around them. Imagine how much better it feels for your children and grandchildren to see you vibrant, active, and engaged, rather than frail and dependent. Maintaining your health allows you to be a part of those cherished family moments, whether it's a grandchild's graduation, a family gathering, or simply offering advice at the dinner table. But how do we maintain good health, especially as we age? It comes down to proactive health management. A balanced diet, regular exercise, and routine checkups are the cornerstones of healthy aging. Taking the time to invest in your well-being ensures that you remain independent and free from the burden of chronic illnesses. And this, in turn, brings peace of mind to your loved ones, knowing that you are not only healthy but thriving. So when you make health a priority, you leave behind a legacy of vitality, strength, and resilience that will inspire and uplift your family for years to come. Now, let's discuss a value that is deeply embedded in many cultures, but especially revered in Eastern traditions: filial piety. This is the fourth value that is essential to pass on to future generations. Filial piety is a concept that encompasses the love, respect, and duty that children owe to their parents and ancestors. It's more than just caring for parents in their old age. It's about fostering strong, respectful family relationships and ensuring that those values are passed down through the generations. For older generations, setting the example of filial piety is critical. It's about living in a way that embodies respect, kindness, and responsibility. When younger family members see these values in action, they learn how to treat their parents and elders with the same respect and care. They internalize the importance of family bonds and begin to understand their role in maintaining the harmony and well-being of the family. This not only creates a peaceful, supportive environment within the family, but also encourages younger generations to carry these values into their wider interactions with the world. Filial piety also teaches younger generations the importance of compassion and empathy. By caring for their parents and elders, children learn to put others before themselves and recognize the sacrifices made by those who came before them. This understanding fosters a deep sense of gratitude and responsibility, creating a strong, connected family unit. While financial assets may ease temporary burdens, they are not enough to create a lasting legacy of happiness or success. It's these moral and ethical values, instilled over time, that form the foundation of a truly flourishing family. And finally, let's turn to a more personal question. Why do some women begin to feel distant from their husbands as they grow older? This is a topic that can be difficult to talk about, but it's something many people experience. As we age, our relationships inevitably go through changes. In the early years of marriage, it's often easier to overlook small annoyances or quirks in our partners. We're busy raising children, building careers, and navigating the demands of daily life. But as the years go by, those little quirks can start to build up. What once seemed insignificant can turn into a source of irritation or resentment. For many women, particularly as they reach their 60s, this emotional distance begins to widen. They may start to feel as though the closeness, care, and companionship they once shared with their husbands has faded. So this often happens gradually. Shared moments of affection may become less frequent, and communication may feel strained. In some cases, women may feel as though they're carrying the emotional and practical burdens of family life alone, while their husbands seem more detached or indifferent. It's important to recognize that this emotional distance doesn't necessarily mean the love is gone. Often it's a symptom of unresolved feelings or a lack of attention to the relationship over time. As couples age, they may fall into routines and habits that don't prioritize connection, leading to a sense of isolation even within the marriage. For some women, This distance can feel incredibly lonely, especially if they've spent decades dedicating themselves to their families. The key to addressing this growing distance is open communication and intentional reconnection. Couples need to make an effort to nurture their emotional bond, even in their later years. This can mean spending more time together, talking about their feelings, or simply making the effort to show care and appreciation for one another. For many women, what they crave most is to feel seen, heard, and valued by their partners, not just as wives or mothers, but as individuals. When we were young, the small, annoying habits of our partners often seemed insignificant. So maybe it was forgetting to turn off the lights, leaving socks on the floor, or not pitching in with the dishes after dinner. These were just tiny quirks back then, things that could be brushed aside with a smile or a shrug, because we were full of energy, and love came with an innate ability to tolerate each other's imperfections. There was an unspoken understanding that these were just small flaws in an otherwise beautiful relationship. But as the years pass, as we grow older and our energy fades, those once insignificant quirks can begin to feel overwhelming. The things we used to tolerate, or didn't even notice, now start to irritate us. The wear and tear of time, combined with the natural decline of physical and mental strength, means that even the smallest things can set off frustration. From the sight of our husbands lounging on the couch, scrolling endlessly on their phones, or we're left to manage the household, juggle responsibilities, or care for the grandchildren can be enough to ignite a deep sense of resentment and exhaustion. It's not that we have fundamentally changed, it's more of an accumulation of unspoken frustrations over the years. These small irritations begin to pile up, and eventually they lead to an emotional and mental strain that feels difficult to manage. As we enter our 60s, we no longer have the same reserves of patience or tolerance we had in our younger years. The weight of responsibilities that have built up over time, combined with unmet expectations, starts to create cracks in the foundation of the relationship. We may even begin to question whether it's worth continuing the partnership. This isn't about not loving our husbands anymore, but rather about feeling emotionally drained from carrying so much of the load, often without acknowledgement or help. We start to ask ourselves, where did that sense of shared partnership go? Why am I doing this alone? Many women, as they grow older, find themselves reflecting on their early hopes and dreams for marriage. When we first got married, most of us envisioned a future where both partners would share the burdens and joys of life equally. We pictured growing old together, side by side, finally getting to enjoy the peaceful years after the hustle of raising a family. But for many of us, the reality is far different. As we grow older, we find that instead of sharing these responsibilities, our husbands often seem more indifferent or less involved. The gap between the expectations we once held and the reality we now live in becomes glaring. We find ourselves carrying the burden of managing everything, preparing meals, keeping the house in order, looking after the grandchildren while our husbands retreat into their worlds, detached from the day-to-day realities of family life. This emotional distance can be incredibly painful. It's not just about the lack of help with chores or daily responsibilities. It's about feeling abandoned, particularly at a time when we need support the most. Over the years, we've sacrificed so much of our time, our energy, and often our dreams for the sake of our families. And yet, the lack of acknowledgement, the absence of empathy or support from our partner, can feel like a deep betrayal. We gave so much, yet now in our later years, when we could use a helping hand, or even just a bit of emotional recognition, it feels as though we are left to carry the burden alone. This disappointment doesn't fade over time. Instead, it often deepens. And with it, the emotional distance between us and our husbands grows wider and wider. Another factor contributing to this growing disconnect is health and lifestyle choices. As we age, health becomes an even more pressing concern, and unfortunately, many men continue to make choices that negatively impact not only their health, but also the well-being of their partners. When our husbands continue to smoke or drink heavily, despite their declining health, it's not just frustrating, it's frightening. We worry constantly about the toll these habits will take on their bodies, and by extension on our lives as well. The fear of losing a partner to an avoidable health issue is a heavy burden to carry, especially when they seem indifferent to the consequences. And when it comes to secondhand smoke, for instance, it's not just their health on the line, it's ours too. Knowing the risks and seeing them ignore these dangers can create a deep well of resentment. When their unhealthy habits lead to illness, it is often us who must care for them, and this responsibility can be exhausting, especially at a time when both partners should be caring for each other equally. It feels unfair and overwhelming to constantly be the caretaker. The neglect of their health feels like neglect of us, as if they've abandoned the idea of growing old together and goal. The constant worry, the caregiving, and the sense that we're always cleaning up after their poor decisions can erode the very foundation of a partnership. It's not just the physical burden of caring for a spouse in poor health, it's also the emotional weight of constantly worrying, constantly feeling like you're putting out fires that could have been prevented. And it doesn't help when they seem completely disengaged from the family. Hours spent in front of the television or scrolling through their phones only add to the sense of distance. It feels like they've checked out of family life, leaving us to pick up the slack. And even though we're in the same house, we often feel completely alone. We're managing the household, cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the grandchildren, while they sit idly by, disconnected from the responsibilities that should be shared. It's a lonely existence, especially when we had hoped for companionship, for a partnership that would grow stronger as we grew older. And then there are the smaller health issues, things like loud snoring, chronic coughing, or poor hygiene. These may seem like minor irritations, but over time they can chip away at our patience. These issues affect our sleep, our mental well-being, and ultimately our emotional connection. It becomes harder to share a space, to share a life, with someone who no longer seems to care about the things that once bound us together: mutual respect, care, and love. Living with someone who neglects their health and no longer takes responsibility for the shared burdens of family life can feel like you're living with a stranger. The very idea of togetherness starts to feel burdensome rather than comforting. In the end, it's not just about the chores or the household responsibilities. It's about the emotional partnership that seems to have faded away over time. The disappointment, the resentment, and the feeling of being left alone to manage everything creates a deep divide in the relationship. The partnership we once dreamed of, where we would grow old together in peace and harmony, feels like it's slipping away, replaced by a sense of distance, frustration, and unmet expectations. And that's perhaps the most heartbreaking part, not that love has disappeared, but that it has been buried under years of unspoken hurt, neglected responsibilities, and the slow accumulation of emotional distance. These feelings of frustration and disconnection are not unusual, nor do they suggest that we have fallen out of love or that the bond we've shared for decades has completely vanished. Rather, they reflect the growing burden of unmet expectations and compounded irritations that have accumulated over the years. The marriage, particularly in old age, evolves from being about romantic love and passion to being about mutual understanding, partnership, and genuine care for one another. As we age, what we crave most is not material comfort but emotional support, companionship, and the reassurance of knowing that we are not alone in navigating life's challenges. So when one partner fails to meet these basic emotional needs, the relationship inevitably suffers. For many older women, the realization that they're carrying much of the emotional and physical burden of the relationship can lead to feelings of resentment and disconnection. We long for the empathy and partnership that seems to have faded over time, and the distance between us and our spouses only grows wider when those needs go unmet. So what once were minor frustrations now feel like significant gaps in understanding and shared responsibility. It's not that the love is gone, but rather that it has been overshadowed by years of unmet expectations, unspoken disappointments, and a lack of emotional connection that we once took for granted. Over time, the health and lifestyle choices of our husbands significantly affect the emotional climate of the relationship. For example, men who neglect their health, whether through continued smoking, drinking, or ignoring exercise, may not fully understand how their choices create a ripple effect throughout the family. These habits impact not only their well-being, but also the emotional well-being of the partners. So when they persist in unhealthy behaviors, we, as their wives, find ourselves constantly worrying about their health. The stress of knowing that their poor choices could lead to a serious health crisis weighs heavily on us. We bear not only the burden of managing our health, but also the stress of caring for a spouse who isn't taking responsibility for theirs. Additionally, the lack of participation in family life only deepens the emotional divide. When our husbands spend hours in front of the television or are glued to their phones while we manage the daily demands of the household, cleaning, cooking, caring for grandchildren. It feels as though we are living parallel lives rather than sharing the journey. This sense of isolation becomes overwhelming. We might be in the same room, but it can feel as though we're worlds apart. That shared sense of companionship, which was once the foundation of the relationship, starts to crumble. We find ourselves carrying the weight of responsibility alone, even though marriage is supposed to be a partnership. And then there are the physical discomforts of aging that add another layer of strain. Things like loud snoring, chronic coughing, or poor hygiene can become daily irritants that chip away at our patience. These issues may seem small, but they can disrupt sleep, create tension, and further erode the intimacy and closeness we once shared. It becomes harder to feel emotionally connected to someone when we're dealing with constant physical discomfort. Sharing a living space, let alone a bed, with someone who no longer seems to prioritize their health or hygiene can make the idea of togetherness feel like a burden rather than a source of comfort. What should be moments of closeness turn into sources of frustration, and we're left feeling even more distant from the person we once felt closest to. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. So, dear friends, as we grow older, it's natural that the nature of our relationships changes. It's no longer just about the love and attraction that defined our younger years. It's about the support, understanding, and companionship that we need more than ever in our later years. These changes in health, lifestyle habits, and the growing gap between our expectations and reality can all contribute to a widening distance between spouses. However, both partners need to recognize that this distance doesn't have to be permanent. Listening to each other, empathizing, and making the effort to meet each other's emotional and physical needs can go a long way in rebuilding the connection that may have been lost. As we age, we must also recognize that life is constantly evolving, and so too must our approach to relationships. Both partners must adapt, accept each other's imperfections, and find joy in the small moments of shared life. Whether it's taking a walk together, preparing a meal, or simply sitting down to talk, these moments of connection can reignite the companionship that may have dimmed over time. Let's take a step back and reflect on the discussions we've had today. Growing older presents both challenges and opportunities for deeper connection, understanding, and growth that come from truly caring for one another. It's important to remember that while aging can bring its own set of difficulties, it also brings the chance to redefine our relationships. We have the opportunity to create new moments of closeness, to support one another in ways that go beyond romantic love, and to leave a lasting impact on those we love through the values we live by. The small habits we adopt, the values we instill in our families, and the ways we choose to show support and care shape the legacy we leave behind. As we reflect on our relationships, it's important to prioritize the things that matter most: empathy, understanding, and emotional support. Aging may change many things, but it doesn't have to erode the love or connection between partners. Instead, it can be a time to deepen that bond, find strength in companionship, and create a new, lasting foundation of care and respect. In the end, what we leave behind is not just the memories of our younger years, but the legacy of how we cared for each other as we grew older. And that legacy, built on a foundation of love, support, and understanding, will resonate for generations to come. As we wrap up today's discussion, I hope that this conversation has given you some insights into the evolving nature of relationships as we age and the importance of emotional support, understanding, and companionship. Well, what have you learned so far? Take a moment to reflect on the points we've discussed and think about how these lessons can apply to your own life. What's one thing you've learned today that you plan to bring into practice? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please share your insights in the comments below this video. If you found this video helpful, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on more valuable discussions like this one. I thank you for watching, and we look forward to hearing from you.